a new Juju live session with Joana Saahirah. That's me. Welcome to a live session that is particularly special for me. This one is about Mahmoud Reda, the father of Egyptian folklore, the genius, the iconic creator of the Reda Troupe, the mentor of mentors, the master of masters, my dearest teacher, my dearest friend, my dearest grandfather, someone who had and will always be a pillar in my dance and in my life. Before I dive into this live session and answer some of the most frequent questions I receive about Mahmoud Reda from dancers who know how close I was to him and how closely I worked with him, I'm gonna give you the protocol, the presentations. I am a world-renowned Oriental dancer, teacher, choreographer, author, and I'm also the creator of the pioneering Joana Saahirah's World and Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School, delivering authentic Egyptian dance, personal discovery, and empowerment. And a lot of what I do is a product of what I've learned from Mahmoud Reda. So for that reason and for so many other reasons, I am thrilled to have you here and feel welcome to share your questions, your feedback, and everything you want to know about Mahmoud Reda, okay? Now, if you want to know more about Mahmoud's legacy and if you want to learn about his style, I will also recommend that you check the courses we have on Reda style available at Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. And in the end of this session, I'm gonna post the link to our school and to our courses in the comments so that you can check them, okay? Now, without further ado, let's dive into the questions I have selected for you about Mahmoud Reda. First of all, I don't believe anyone who is involved with Egyptian dance does not know Mahmoud Reda, or at least they should not know, okay? You should know him, you should know what he did. He was a revolutionary, he was a pioneer, and someone who put Egyptian dance in the public artistic sphere like no one had ever done before. Mahmoud and his brother, Ali Reda, they did the research all over Egypt, collecting information about different kinds of subcultures, okay, let's call it subcultures in Egypt, and they collected music, outfits, dialects, dance styles, and from that collection, from that research, he created what became known as the Reda style. He brought Egyptian folklore to the stage for the first time, and not to any stage, to the biggest stages of the world. At some point, the Reda Troupe was sponsored, was taken care of by the Egyptian government, and that had a lot of benefits and also had a lot of downsides, okay, like everything else. But that took the Reda Troupe and the name of Mahmoud Reda even higher, okay, as he deserved. So in this live session, I'm gonna answer as candidly and as objectively as possible. Forgive me if some of the answers are too personal, because for me, Mahmoud Reda is not a figure, he's not a symbol, he's not a name. He is and will always be my dearest friend and supporter. So it is a very personal Facebook live session, okay? Now, let's start with a question that I have received many times, and it is of course something of the curiosity of people, okay? They get curious, how did I meet Mahmoud Reda? And how did you become Mahmoud's best friend, and how did you start to collaborate with him work-wise? And I'm gonna be short, hopefully. We met for the first time in Ahlan wa Sahlan festival organized by Rakia Hassan. At the time, I was just a student. I think it was my first visit to Egypt. No, my second visit to Egypt. I was not living there yet, and I remember I wanted to hide in the back of the room. I was so shy and so insecure because I was in the same room as Mahmoud Reda. So at that time, I don't even believe he saw me. And later on, when we met and when we became friends and student, mentor, collaborators, I told him, Mahmoud, you're sure you don't remember? He told me, no, but it's weird. How can I not remember you? I said, yeah, because I was hiding in the back. So the first time I saw him and the first time I studied with him, I didn't even speak with him. There were a lot of dancers asking for pictures, asking for an autograph and all sorts of attentions. I was not one of them. I was very shy. I was just a beginner, and also someone who was in deep respect and reverence to Mahmoud, because at the time I already had a very clear idea of what he represented. So I did not approach him, we did not speak, we did not take a picture, I did not even speak to him. But I knew back then that one day I would study intensively with that person. I knew it, I decided it inside. So not long after that, I would say 1-2 years maximum, I was in Cairo. And I was starting to launch my career, to work on my career. And I knew that I needed folklore in my show. I knew that I wanted to learn Egyptian folklore, aside from Egyptian Oriental dance, which people call erroneously belly dance. And I also knew that in order to have a 1-hour program in my show in Cairo with my musicians, I needed variety. I was not one of those dancers who believed people could be entertained with me for an entire hour doing the same exact thing. I would become bored to death, and I believe that when the dancer is bored, the audience is bored as well. So I knew I wanted to know everything about Egyptian folklore for my education, but also because I wanted to have a rich program in my show in Cairo, okay? So I headed to the Lion's Mouth. Who better than Mahmoud Reda, the father of Egyptian folklore, to teach me Egyptian folklore? So I headed to his office, to his studio in downtown, and my plan was to pay him for private classes. I headed there, I told him I'm a dancer, I'm starting to work here in Cairo, and I want to build a wide repertoire of Egyptian folklore, and I wonder if you can teach me privately, because I need to learn fast and I need to learn it correctly, 100%. And he told me, okay, let's do the first class. And this was a memorable class, I will never forget it. He was very generous, very patient, observant. So he was checking how I was moving, how I was doing the material he was giving me. And at the end of the class, he called me and he told me, you know what? I'm not gonna accept your money, ever. I was shocked, you know, because at that time I had already studied with different teachers in Cairo, professional teachers, bullshit teachers, you know, all sorts of people. And they charged a lot of money, and some of them incredibly unfair amounts of money for classes that were not really classes. Okay, I had private classes with big icons of Egyptian dance who would just leave me in the room and go about their day and then come back and then charge me in gold. You know, so I was shocked. I said, how come you're not gonna charge me any money? I want to come back to this class to study with you every day. I'm not going to be able to do that if you don't charge me. He told me something I will never forget, and something that I think shaped our relationship forever. He told me, I saw how you dance. It is an honor for me to teach you. Come as many times as you like. I will teach you everything I know, and I will never take a penny from you. It is my honor. I swear by God, he told me this. It sounds like a movie. And I was startled, I was shocked, and I was a little doubtful, I have to confess. I went home that day saying, no way, no way, this is a trap. There is a catch here. I don't believe he's gonna do what he said he's going to do. But you know what? He actually did. He was always honoring his word. He, throughout the years that I studied with him and then started working with him, he honored his promise, he honored his offer, and truth be told, he was the most generous, most present, most important teacher of my life, okay? So this is how we met, and this is how our relationship started. And then from a certain point, he started to invite me to work with him, to help him with choreography, and then help him recording some videos, and then help him teach. And then on my first trip abroad, I traveled with him as well, teaching his style, teaching my own stuff. So it was a very organic development, and from student teacher, we became work collaborators and we became friends, granddaughter, grandfather, and he was always there for me. I used Mahmoud's studio in downtown, in Asr el-Nil Street, a very famous street in downtown Cairo, for my own practices, not only for the work with Mahmoud, but for my own rehearsals with my musicians at some point. My own videos. He shot a lot of my early videos, so he was shooting them and editing them and doing that beautiful work for me. And he was the kind of person that I went to every time I needed anything, everything, and he never failed me. Not only once Mahmoud told me no to anything. So you can imagine how much that means to me, especially when you are alone in an environment like the Cairo dance scene. It's so tough. And having a friend and someone you trust and someone you respect like Mahmoud Reda by your side, it's really one of the biggest gifts, and I would even say lifesavers, that life has offered me. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Feel welcome to share your questions, guys. By the way, if you are watching, let me know what you would like to know about Mahmoud Reda, and I will answer if I know, okay? Now, what else do we have here, okay? When did I start working with Mahmoud and how? Okay, the how, I think I've already told you. It was a very organic development. I don't really know when exactly I started to work with Mahmoud. It wasn't so far away from the start of our relationship. I do know that I started as a student, so I was not collaborating with him in the beginning. Also because I didn't know his style well, so it took a while for me to get inside of his language, get inside of his head also. It took me a while to understand how he choreographed, how he taught, how we like to create. It took me a while to get used to his discipline, which was sharp and very strong. I was dancing at night, so performing at night, and then during the day I would come to his studio, sometimes dying of sleep because I was so tired. You know, I would come home at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6, and then at 8 o'clock I would be in his studio working with him. So, you know, it took time to build the stamina and the dominion of his language, but eventually in the first years he started asking for my collaboration here and there, and then study and work became one. Okay, so every time I worked with him, I considered it a study, research. Okay, hi Ramos. Hi Ramos, thank you for always being so supportive. Thank you, much appreciated. So the exact moment when I started working with Mahmoud Reda, I don't recall, but I do know it was very natural, and it was always an opportunity for growth for me. I didn't see it as work even. I saw it like, oh, I'm learning so much. Because even when I was teaching with him, I was watching him teach, and I was absorbing not only dance information, but cultural information and ethics, what to do, what not to do, how you choreograph a piece. I mean, learning from the best, you know. I was very grateful for everything, and rest assured, I also didn't charge him for my work. So there was like an exchange, which for me was very natural. So he was teaching me for free for years before I started collaborating with Mahmoud. And obviously it made no sense to me to charge him for my work. So I also told him, tell me what you need from my side. If I'm not working in my own work with my own musicians, I'm here. I will do whatever you need, just as you do for me. So it was a very balanced, a very give and take kind of relationship, and also a very funny and very personal relationship. Okay, so we worked together and I studied with him, but we also had our lunches, our outings. He loved to sing and hear me sing, so he would often take me home in his car and he would sing for me, I would sing for him. We had our fish lunches at his studio. We had our music listening sessions, so he would bring old music from Abdul Wahab and Abdul Halim, and we would just listen and choose music to choreograph together. It was a real privilege, and at the time I think I didn't even realize what a gift I was offered. You know, for me it was normal because everything happened so naturally, so easily. You know, I didn't have to conquer it, to fight for it as I usually do in my life. So I didn't realize how great that gift was until I left Egypt and I started missing him, and I started missing that presence in my life, a very paternal presence, like a strong masculine presence that was there supporting me and protecting me and teaching me and giving me hope and giving me strength and giving me confidence in myself as well. Now, what else? Was Mahmoud Reda a very serious artist? I love this question. Was he tough as a teacher? Okay, so these are two different questions, all right? I put them in one question, I don't know why. But was Mahmoud Reda a very serious artist? I don't know what this person means by serious. He was a very serious artist in the sense that he created great work. He created genius work. As I already told you, he was a pioneer in many ways, okay? So he was a pioneer in the way that he managed to bring Egyptian folklore and Oriental dance in his own way to the big stages of the world. Nobody had ever done that. Even in Egypt, Egyptians did not see their dance as art. They still don't see it, by the way. Exception made for the folklore of Mahmoud Reda, which is a category apart in the minds of Egyptians. So they don't consider it Oriental dance. They know it is folklore and they know it is Mahmoud Reda. So he managed to bring Egyptian dance to a place of visibility and respect and art. Okay, for the first time, Egyptians saw their dances, Bedouin dances, Nubian dances, dances from different parts of Egypt that many Egyptians had never seen. He brought it to the big stages, he brought it to television, to cinema. So that knowledge of the Egyptian folklore was broadcasted through different vehicles, not only the live shows in the Balloon Theater in Egypt and then around the world where they performed, but also through television and cinema, which are in Egypt the most powerful vehicles of transmission of something, okay? If you show up on television or on cinema, a large amount of people get to know what you do. So Mahmoud was incredibly clever, aside from being a genius artist, and a good businessman, very savvy, and he knew that he needed the cinema and television in order to broadcast the message, in order to bring Egyptian folklore to every single Egyptian, and he did, okay? So in that sense, he was very serious. Yeah, he was very serious about his craft until his 80s. So when I left Egypt, Mahmoud was 84, 85, and he was still teaching, he was still creating, he was still searching, okay, at 85. And he was serious in the sense that he respected and loved dance so much. He was not so serious as a person, which is a very interesting combination. So Mahmoud was a very funny person, good-humored. He was very naughty. He had a very naughty sense of humor, and I believe it also depended on the person interacting with him. He would be more relaxed, more serious, a little bit more funny, more outgoing, less outgoing, depending on the person, okay? So I've seen Mahmoud in different moods and different postures with different people. With me, he was always very funny and very well-humored and very curious and very exciting and excited about life, all right? So I always felt that I was with a young boy, okay? A man with the spirit of a young boy, with the mind, the freshness, the curiosity, the openness, the innocence of a young boy. And that was one of the things I loved about him the most, okay? So he was serious about the art, yes, but he was not a very serious person. He was not grumpy. He was not heavy. No, he was very light, very light. Now, was he a tough teacher? This one is hard, you know, because then again, I saw him as a teacher in groups where I taught with him. And then I saw him as a teacher with me, when he was teaching me, when he was training me. And those were very different people, okay? I always thought that with me, he was incredibly patient, something that not necessarily happened when he was teaching groups of dancers. I always felt that with me, he was incredibly generous and supportive, something that not necessarily happened with groups, okay? So there is the teacher with me, and there is the teacher that I got to know when I taught with Mahmoud with big groups. Now, in big groups, he was supportive, he was funny, he was light, but he did not have the kind of depth and generosity and love and trust and interest that I found that he had when he was working with me. I remember many times when I was working on a dance piece, my own or his dance piece, he would sit in the studio with a cup of tea, no sugar, just watching me work, watching me practice. And I often asked him, why are you here? You know, do something productive. When I am ready, I will show you my work. I will show you what I'm doing. But I feel awkward, you watching me. And I'm not doing it right. You know, I'm making a lot of mistakes. I felt shy. And he always told me, don't worry, your mistakes are beautiful. Keep doing your mistakes. So he was exceptionally supportive as a teacher to me, and exceptionally patient. Oi, Saninha. Oi, meu amor. Bom dia. But then again, I do think that it really depended on the circumstance, and it depended on you. Different dancers have different experiences with Mahmoud. I've heard very different experiences, okay? Mine was absolutely amazing, and I could not have asked for a better teacher. No, he would spend hours if necessary teaching me a detail, correcting me. He had no limits. His support and love towards me was unconditional, really unconditional. And you know, it's like having a big father teaching you everything he knows. It's priceless. Now, what else? What else? How was Mahmoud's process of choreography? Okay, so this one is really interesting. I love this question. And when I teach choreography and choreographing techniques, I always go back to what I've learned from different teachers, not only Mahmoud, but a lot of it comes from Mahmoud Reda. And I've never seen him choreograph the Reda Troupe, okay, for which he became known. But I did see him choreograph dance pieces for teaching all the time. And I was with him in the studio while he was choreographing. And I even collaborated. I helped him in some of those choreographies, you know, giving him some opinion when he asked for it, or giving him an idea or a proposal. I was in the studio while he was doing it. So what I really loved above everything about Mahmoud's choreography technique or strategy was his down-to-earth discipline and humbleness. What do I mean by this? I remember that he would go into the studio and start choreograph something with me, and we would finish the session, let's say 2 hours or 3 hours of choreography work, and he would not be satisfied with it, okay? And he would tell me, it's okay, we're done for today, and tomorrow we come back to it. And we come back to it until it's ready. And sometimes that meant changing movements, adding movements, eliminating movements, starting from scratch. It also happened. There was a kind of a discipline, a down-to-earth perseverance, and also this idea that when you start choreographing, it is a work in progress. You don't have to get it right immediately. You can start a draft, you can do a skeleton, and then go from there. As if choreographies were like rocks that we're gonna break little by little in order to reveal a diamond, okay? So the diamond, which is the final version of the choreography, if such a thing exists, would take the necessary time. He was not He was not worried that a day was not particularly creative or that the result of a session was not good. He was not worried. He said, we have tomorrow, we come back and we do it better, or we redo it, okay? But the work is done. So in his choreography strategies, I learned how to persevere, and I learned how to be consistent, and I learned how to be perseverant. I learned how to be humble, not to expect extraordinary results from myself all the time. I learned that inspiration, as Pablo Picasso says, inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. The ethics of work, of showing up consistently and doing your job like a worker, like an employee, that is, in my opinion, one of the most important things professional dancers can learn. And I learned it from him for sure. In every single thing that I do, I have that work ethic very strong, okay? Something else is the curiosity and the openness to new solutions. So Mahmoud had been doing his craft for a long time, okay? We're talking about someone who was doing this dance at its highest level for more than 50 years. So he had done everything. Come on, you know, he had created everything on earth, and nonetheless, he was always searching for a new solution, a new way of doing things. It could be repeating itself again and again and again, but he wasn't. He was always asking, how can we do this differently? How can we see this step or this transition in a new way? How can I approach this music in a way that I have never done before? How can I look at this choreography from a very different perspective? Always with this curiosity, this openness of a child that kept him on his toes and kept him creative and interesting and surprising all the time. And that too is something that I absorbed, because it was not something that he told me to do. It was something that I saw him doing every day, and I did with him because I was studying and working with him. So I was taken in that tide, and it was really, really important for me and for my education as a dancer, but also as a person, you know, because you always keep your mind sharp, always keep your mind open. How can we do this differently? This is the mind of the artist, but it's also the mind of the child who is eternally curious, eternally open to a new world, new possibilities, new ways of doing things. And he had it more than anyone else I've ever met in my life. And I'm so grateful because it rubbed off on my skin, and it was something that I totally assimilated. Something else I really, really adored in his choreography process was the fact that he was so respectful and so intimate with the music. And this is something that then again, it became part of my method of teaching. It became part of my dance style. It's this deep connection to the music, a very personal connection to the music. Before we choreographed a piece, we would sit down and listen to it in detail. We would talk about this piece. We will discuss the piece. We would break it into phrases. We would go phrase by phrase and say, where do we start? Should we start at the beginning? Should we start in the middle, in the end? Which phrase do you like? Which phrase do I like? We became so close to the music that when it came the time to choreograph it, it was so much easier, and it was a very personal affair. And that too I learned. Last but not least, his choreography style had a very interesting mix of different elements of dance. And that is the Reda style, okay? It is a mix of Egyptian folklore, a little bit of Oriental, and then jazz, tap dance, classical ballet, modern ballet, Argentinian tango. He mixed different influences, different dances in such a natural, Oriental way. You didn't even sometimes identify those influences because he made them look and feel so Oriental, so Egyptian, but they were foreign influences. If you know other dance styles, and I do, I grew up studying different dance styles with classical ballet, jazz, African dances, you would say, oh, this is an influence from tap, this is an influence from jazz, this is an influence from classical ballet, you would identify. But unless you had a very strong background in different dance styles, you wouldn't even notice that he was mixing different elements. And he was, and he did it brilliantly. And this is something that I've learned and also adopted into my work, is the ability to combine Oriental dance, the essence, the flavor, the authentic flavor of Oriental dance, with foreign elements, with movements that are not necessarily in the standard vocabulary of Oriental dance. That is a hard mix to get. It is a hard balance to build, but he did it so beautifully, so effortlessly. And then again, because I was doing it with him, not because he told me about it, but because I was doing it, it became my second nature as well, and it became one of the features of my style. Sometimes you cannot pinpoint, it's different, but it's still Oriental. It's very modern, but it's still very traditional. What the hell, you know? And that comes from Mahmoud Reda. That comes from all the sessions, all the hours we spent in the studio, hours that I'm so grateful for. I just wish I had been there even more than I was already. Because it is a gift. It will always be. What else? And guys, drop by please and share your questions. Take advantage of the fact that I'm here and I'm able to answer you, okay? Whatever you want to know or share about Mahmoud Reda, if you have met him, if you have studied with him, let me know in the comments and I will keep on going, okay? So, what else do I have here? What were Mahmoud's favorite singers? I love this one. Okay, so Mahmoud, just like myself, we had a lot of things in common, okay? So he did a very clear division between the singers for work and the singers for fun, for private life. So he would listen to specific music for work and he would listen to very different music for fun, just for him. Outside of work. And I do the same. I do exactly the same. I divide very clearly because I don't want to get saturated, you know, I don't want my ears and my head to become too familiar with the things that I work with every day. So the singers that he loved the most and the singers that he showed me the most were Mohammed Abdul Wahab. That is certainly something that he always showed me. A lot of songs that I know and worked with later on, and with my orchestra in Cairo from Mohammed Abdul Wahab, he showed them to me. He made me sit down and listen to them. He also loved Abdul Halim Hafiz, and the Reda Troupe had worked side by side with Abdul Halim Hafiz and in the same venues and, you know, in the same context several times. So he actually knew Abdul Halim and he loved him. He respected him and he loved his music, absolutely. He always told me so much about Ali Ismail. Ali Ismail was not a singer, he was a composer and an orchestrator and a musician, a pioneer also. And Ali Ismail was the creator of the repertoire for the Reda Troupe. And Mahmoud always told me about Ali Ismail with great respect. And he even told me Reda Troupe would not be Reda Troupe without Ali Ismail. He told me this many times. He had a deep admiration and deep love for the music of Ali Ismail. So although Ali Ismail was not a singer, he was a musician, a composer that Mahmoud loved and worked with all the time. Then again, I got to know the repertoire of Ali Ismail because Mahmoud made me sit down and listen to it. You have to listen to this. And in fact, it was the best music I've ever heard for Oriental dance and for folklore, I have to admit. And I agreed with him. Yes, this is really the best I've ever heard. So Ali Ismail, a great reference for Mahmoud, Abdul Halim Hafiz and Mohammed Abdul Wahab, for sure. Now, in the field of privacy, okay, when we were not working, me and him, both of us loved jazz. Mahmoud loved jazz. He loved the jazz classics. So when we went home, as I already told you, he always liked to sing for me and made me sing for him. So I would sing fado, which is the Portuguese national music. fado, he loved it. And I also would sing jazz classics, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan, Etta James. He loved that. And we would sing together, a lot of them. Frank Sinatra, of course, Tony Bennett. We loved it because I love jazz. I'm a big jazz lover, and he was too. So I believe that jazz and perhaps classical music were the things that he listened to when he was not working. Okay? I hope that answered your curiosity. Some of these questions are more like curiosity than dance knowledge, okay? What else do I have here? Did Mahmoud like to learn other dance styles? Yeah, absolutely. Until he stopped working, I saw him taking, in his 80s, classes of Argentinian tango. I actually saw it, I witnessed it. He was paying a teacher to teach him Argentinian tango and other dance styles. He was a dance lover. He loved musicals, Broadway musicals. He loved Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, just like I do. And he loved all dance styles, and he loved to learn them. Not only because he adored dance in general, but also because that was material for his work. Okay? Now, what else? What was it like to study with Mahmoud? Okay, I think I have answered this question. What was it like? At the time, for me, everything was so overwhelming. I did not have space to think about what was happening, so I was working every night. It was a very tough job because I was managing my own career by myself. I had no manager, no impresario. I was dealing with musicians and technicians and assistants and the people who hired us for our regular shows, for weddings. I was dealing with everything aside from being the dancer and the orchestrator of the orchestra and the one who created the programs for the shows and everything. I think the only thing I didn't do was play the instruments and create my bedla. Otherwise, I did everything by myself. So I was quite overwhelmed and tired all the time. I had no time to think about what was happening, you know, to reflect. But when I look back and when I think about the way he taught me and how it felt like home. You know, and there is no other way of putting it. It felt like home. It did not feel like I was going to a class and be corrected, although he corrected me all the time, of course. It did not feel like I was going to a class and be challenged, although he challenged me big time, all the time. It felt like I was home and I was coming home. Every time I was coming to his studio, either to take a class with him or to create something with him, to prepare something for work, I felt like I was back home. He made me feel at home. He made me feel like a part of his family, like a part of his house, of his home. So take it as you will. You know, it means different things for different people. For me, it's priceless. It was also, you know, for me, a great booster, because very often I would doubt my abilities. I would think, am I good? Am I excellent? Am I a great dancer? Am I good? Am I average? Can I pull this off? You know, because then again, it was hard to build a name in Cairo by myself, in a corrupted system, in an environment that was really not rewarding of talent. And I struggled. I really struggled. And he always reminded me, yeah, you have this, you got this, you are super talented and you are gonna pull this off. Believe in yourself. So aside from feeling like home, learning with him was always an upper. It pulled me up because he knew what I was going through, and he knew the environment in Cairo. He knew how harsh and corrupted and hard to handle it was. And of course he felt worried because I was alone managing it all. But at the same time, he knew how to support me and how to give me strength and how to believe in myself, which is in the end the biggest gift a teacher can give you. You know, you can learn all the dance steps, you can learn all the information, but the biggest gift a teacher can give you is the confidence in yourself, is to tell you, yeah, you got this, you're actually an interesting person, you are talented, You are the best at what you do. Trust in yourself. Trust it. This is priceless. What else? What was it like to work with him? Okay, to work with Mahmoud. It was slightly different, okay, because in work there were different criterias and different demands and expectations, naturally, you know. So Mahmoud knew very well how he wanted things done. He knew very well how he wanted things taught. So while I was working with him, I was very much following his lead, okay? Even if some of the methods of teaching were not my method, and he knew it because we discussed it openly. Even if I disagreed with certain approaches, it was not my place to tell him what to do, obviously. I was there as a collaborator. I was there to help him. I was there to learn also. And I had to follow his method and to follow his pedagogy and to follow his way of doing things. And then, of course, taking what rang true to my soul and not taking the things that I didn't agree with, okay? So working with him was a little bit more serious than studying with him, but it was still a lot of fun because he took the work itself very seriously. When we were working 100%. There is no space for fooling around, no space for laughter, no space for a distraction. It was sharp, super disciplined, 100% present. But the moment we finished the work, there would be laughter, there would be singing, there would be jokes. You know, he loved to tell jokes. It was a very light environment, but also very disciplined and very serious and very professional. So when we started presenting something, it was very clear we were working. And there was no space for playing. No way, no way. Okay, but that is the kind of discipline that anyway I was used to, and the kind of discipline that is natural in professionals of any area, okay? Now what? Did he help me in my career? Okay, I have received this question so many times. And the first time we traveled together to England, to Joy Festival in Brighton, that was, I believe, my first work trip abroad, outside of Egypt. And I did it with him. So he was teaching his stuff with me. We were teaching his workshops, and then I was teaching my own workshops, and I was performing as well. And people approached me and they asked me, is he helping you with your career? Is he making connections for you? And the answer is no. He helped me a lot on many levels. As a teacher, by teaching me everything he knew, he helped me there. As a friend, as a supporter, as someone that I knew I could count on to open my heart, to just, you know, cry if I needed. And I cried in front of him many times because, you know, out of exhaustion, out of stress, out of hurt. But he was totally out of the Raksa Shark environment. He had never been in the environment of the Cairo belly dance scene, and he was not interested in it. He had no connections in it. And the only thing he did for me in terms of career was to introduce me to a potential manager who was managing other dancers at the time. So he brought it to me right at the beginning of my career there, and he told me, okay, see if he can help you in any way. And I hated that guy. And I was right to do so. He was a weasel. He was a weasel and terrible person. I came to know him better later on. He tried to steal my musicians. He tried to hurt my work. It was hell. But he brought it to me with the expectation of someone able to help me, someone able to make a bridge between me and the outside jungle of the Cairo dance scene. And I said no. I told him, Mahmoud, sorry, but it's not gonna work. I don't trust this guy. So I kicked him out, and that was the first and last time Mahmoud interfered in practical terms in my career. Otherwise, he did not. As far as I know, he never recommended me to an impresario or to a specific festival. What happened was, the first time He was invited to teach in Argentina by a dear friend of mine, Martin Salvatierra, with whom I work later on. Mahmoud proposed that I would travel with him, teaching his style, and even proposed that I would travel by myself, teaching his style. And at the time I said no. I said, no, if I travel, I'm going to teach my stuff, or I'm going to teach with you and you're coming with me. But people have to know that's your thing. It is your work. I'm not going to take over your work. I'm going to teach your style later on when I have my identity well established. But I'm not going to make myself a Reda Troupe dancer forever. That's not my intention. That's not what I'm here for. And he was a little hurt with me, I remember. But then he understood. I told him, Mahmoud, later on, when I have created a name for myself, I will teach your style. I will teach your work, and I will honor you, and I will honor it. I promise you. But not now. Not now. I'm still starting, and I need to develop my own language, my own thing, my own work. So we're either working together and you come and people know this is your work. I'm just there helping you. Or I'm not going to travel as Joana Saahirah presenting Mahmoud's work only. It makes no sense to me. So there was no direct push from Mahmoud Reda in my career. But of course, I do believe that being so close to him and learning so much from him and counting on him like a grandfather, like a supporter, like a family member, you know, it helped me a lot. It helped me keep my mental sanity. It helped me make a better dancer, so that helped my career. It was not just something that he would do in practical terms to make my path easier, because he couldn't. He didn't have the contacts and the network for it. He was totally out of that environment. Okay, also because he did not like that environment. He created his own environment with the Reda Troupe, and he always kept himself as a niche in his own world, in his own bubble. He was not part of this jungle, ever. What else? What else? What else? What else? What did Mahmoud think about me teaching his style? Okay, I think I've already answered this one too. He hoped I would teach his style, but he also knew that I'm an artist. So there was always a little conflict between, I would love it if you would teach my style because you know it better than anyone, but at the same time, I know you have your own stuff to teach, and I know you have your own vision to teach, and I know you have your own style to teach. So there was always this tension between his desire that I would teach his work and his acknowledgement that I had my own work to develop. And I do believe that with time he accepted that I would do a little bit of both. And then again, I promised him that I would honor him and honor everything that he taught me, and that's exactly what I'm doing. At Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School, we have 2 courses of Reda style, and I'm preparing a new one about Reda legacy. I'm also writing a book about Mahmoud Reda and my relationship with him and everything that I learned in those years of work and study and living life together. It is a book I'm working on, and I'm honoring my promise to him in different ways. Rest assured, at the same time, I have my own language, my own work, my own teaching method, my own dance style, my own identity. So for me, this was exactly what I always wanted, and I know I'm making him proud. From an artist to another artist, he knew that I needed to put my own identity out there. He knew it, okay? And he cherished that. He supported that. He fed that. Now, what were the biggest lessons he taught me? This is a hard one, because I learned a lot about dance and about Egypt and about Egyptian mentality and about life with Mahmoud. A lot of stuff. I'm gonna give you a few things that I learned from him, but not all of them, all right? Mahmoud loved to teach me about everything, about people, about human psychology, about music, about food, about travels, about everything. So it is hard to pinpoint what he taught me and what were the biggest lessons, but I'm gonna give you a glimpse, okay, of the treasures, yeah? So the first thing, I'm gonna read from my notes. I took a few notes so that I would not get lost. The humbleness of daily work. Okay, and I've already mentioned this. When I looked at him, I saw the great artist, of course, especially in the beginning, before we were too close. Because when you're too close with the person, you see the person. You don't see the icon. You see the person. It's Mahmoud, it's my friend, it's my father, it's my grandfather, you know. You start to lose that stardom fascination. He's a person that you know, and a person that you know well, that's it. But I was always aware of who he was. You know, I never lost track of the person I had in front of me. So it always shocked me, in a good way, that he was so humble and so disciplined, that as a veteran of dance who had done everything that has to be done in the field of dance at its highest level, he was still going to work every single day of the week, except Saturdays and Sundays. 8 o'clock in the morning, he would be in the studio working, choreographing, teaching, editing music, recording dance pieces, researching for new creations. He was so active, so disciplined. He was always asking, how can we do this better? So that humbleness, that discipline shaped me. And it is one of the biggest lessons that he could ever have taught me. What else? The curiosity for the world, okay? So Mahmoud was always asking why. Why this, why that? Why do they do it that way? Why did they go that way? Why do they think this way? Why do we do it this way and not another way? This curiosity, this intelligence, this lively mind, this brain of a child, a fresh brain, fresh mind, this influenced me and inspired me, and it never allowed me to set for less than what's next. So in my life and in my career, I feel like I'm always ahead of my field in so many ways. You know, things that people later on think, yeah, everybody does it. No, I've been doing it since, 10 years ago. Because I always ask every single day, how can I do this differently? How can I do this better? How can I teach better? How can I choreograph better? How can I perform better? How can I write better? How can I communicate better? How can I reach my audience in a different, more personal, more efficient, more transformative way? When I'm choreographing, asking, how can I surprise myself? Why am I doing it this way and why I cannot do it another way? This liveliness, this curiosity, this never settling for what is done, I got it from him. And it was one of the biggest lessons, one of the biggest gifts he has given me. What else? The importance of sense of humor and thinking outside of the box, okay? He was very funny. I've already mentioned that. Mahmoud was very naughty. And I think he believed that sense of humor and laughter were survival skills, because throughout the worst times in our lives, we would laugh and we would make jokes in order to survive, in order to digest what was going on, and in order to pull ourselves up. So the use of humor for survival and for thriving is certainly one of the things I learned from him. And the thinking outside of the box is as well. Focusing in my own thing, focusing in my own craft, focusing in my own life, and letting the crowds do whatever the crowds want to do, but doing something so unique and so personal and so out of the box that people ask, what is she gonna do next? Because it's always something new. It's always something surprising and always something very personal. What else? To never stop learning and exploring. This is another lesson I learned from him, something that I saw him do consistently, as I've already mentioned again and again, this willingness to learn continuously, this willingness to be the eternal student. He went as far as doing a beginner class. I do remember this. I was teaching a group from China. So a lot of times people would come from different countries to his studio and they wanted to learn Oriental dance, okay? They did not want to learn folklore, but they did not know. So they did not know the difference between folklore and Oriental. So they showed up, and Mahmoud would pass me those students on to me. He would tell them, she's better in Oriental than I am, so she will teach you. And I remember at least one time when I was teaching a beginner's class to a group of Chinese dancers, and he said, can I do it? Can I join you? I said, Mahmoud, come on. You must be kidding me. I mean, you know, this is a beginner's class, for God's sake. It's not even an advanced class. You must be joking. He said, no, no, no. It's always good to revise, to go back to the basis. It's always good. And he joined the class. With me and the Chinese dancers, he joined the class. I could not believe it. I say Mahmoud Reda is doing a beginner's class with me and a group of Chinese dancers. I do not believe this. But that was his spirit, the spirit of the eternal student, a spirit of humbleness, but also a spirit of confidence. He knew himself, and he knew his value as an artist. He knew what he represented to Egyptians. He knew what he represented to Egyptian dance. He was very self-confident in his own person and in his own contribution to the dance, but at the same time, he was very humble. You know, at the same time, he was always eager to do something else, to do something more, to do something different, to learn, to rediscover a step, to redo something and do it from a different angle and discover something new. So this combination between self-confidence and the humbleness of the eternal student is something that then again I absorbed, and it became part of my character. It became part of my thing, you know. Just like him, I developed this confidence in myself and in what I do. I'm very, very aware of who I am as a dancer, very aware of who I am as a teacher, and very confident, but at the same time, I want to learn every day. I take classes of different things, not only dance. I study, I ask, okay, Joana, you did this before, do it differently. You know, how can you do this better? How can you do it differently? How can you surprise yourself? It's not about surprising others, it's about surprising me. You know, how can you step forward and do something that nobody has done before? That comes from Mahmoud. It comes from him. It comes from observing him doing it. And that is, it's priceless. You know what they say, we don't learn through what other people tell us to do. We learn through what they do. We learn through example. And I had the best example, you know. I often tell my students, be very picky, very careful on the references that you follow. Our mentors, our teachers, the people that we look up to. It's very important to choose them wisely because they can shape a lot of who we are. They can shape a lot of who we will become, a lot of our dance, our life, our values. It's super important to have those references, the best references possible. And I have to admit, Mahmoud was for sure the best and the most consistent reference, inspiration that life could have ever offered me. And this is it, my darlings, for today. I had selected these questions. I'm always open to other questions. Let me know. There is one last question, by the way, that is not related to Mahmoud Reda. Not directly. It's a question I received recently from one of our students in our school at Joana Saahirah's online dance school, and it has to do with the Malaya Lef, okay, which was a style created by Mahmoud, by the way. The dance of the Malaya is not necessarily, it's not a part of Egyptian folklore. It's Egyptian Reda style, okay. So the dance of the Malaya was something that Mahmoud created using the Malaya Lef, which is a coverage, a black piece of cloth that women in the big cities used to wear when they went out from their houses. So they would cover themselves, they would wrap themselves around the Malaya to go to the hammam or to the ahwa, to the coffee shop or something. And he created a dance style from that circumstance, from that context. And the question is, how do I feel about girls twirling their Malayas while doing Malaya Lef? Okay, so as I told you, this is not particularly connected to Mahmoud. It's not about Mahmoud, but it is related to Mahmoud and Mahmoud's work. And I believe that twirling
she's referring to excessive twirling with the Malaya. Now, I'm gonna answer this question according to what I've learned from Mahmoud, okay, and what I do in my own work. The Malaya is not a veil. It is not a veil, okay? So sometimes we can break those rules. We can get into the movements that were the most traditional movements, from women moving in the street, from women talking and communicating and managing the Malaya, which was very much what Mahmoud created from. And then we can break a little bit of the rules. We can expand the movements. I do it in my work, and Mahmoud has done it, but without exaggerating. So don't forget the meaning of the Malaya, right? Never forgetting that the Malaya was used to wrap the body when women went out of their houses and they didn't want to cover up fully. So there is a context and there is a story behind that needs to be respected. When you forget about it and you make it a gimmick, it loses the meaning, it loses significance. It's just a piece of clothing that you twirl around, you know, and that is nonsense. But then again, the only way to avoid that is to study with someone who knows the style, okay? Dancing with Malay Left has a lot to do with culture, and it has a lot to do with history. So if you learn from someone who knows the culture and the history and knows why the Malay was used and how and by whom, then you can know exactly how to use it. And even when you twirl it in the right way, in the right place, okay? In a way that is respectful of the style, in a way that is respectful of the original context of the wearing of the Malaya, all right? Which is a context nothing to do with dance, yeah? Okay, I hope I answered this question. Thank you for sending it to me. I will see you very soon, guys, and I will invite you to check Joana Saahirah's signature course, my first Oriental dance signature course from the ABC to Mastery. We're starting this November at Joana Saahirah's online dance school. It's gonna be introduction, level 1, level 2, level 3, advanced until professional level for the ones who wanna go for it. It is optional, but you can go for it, for teaching and for performing. It's going to be a very unique course, a very unique membership that combines authentic Oriental Egyptian dance, raqs sharqi, with personal discovery and empowerment, using my own method, of course, with a lot of influences from Mahmoud Reda, absolutely, and a lot of gifts that I have received from him that I'm going to offer my students. So if you're interested in checking it, please don't miss the link I'm going to share in the description box below this video if you're gonna see this replay at Joana Saahirah's YouTube channel, or in the comments to this video if you're watching it on Facebook. I will also share the link to our newsletter, Joana Saahirah's World newsletter, if you want to join us and become part of our community. You know where to find it, in the comments to this video, on Facebook, and in the description box below this video if you're watching this on YouTube. That's it. It is a wrap. I'm gonna drink a little bit more of my coffee. I'm gonna get ready to dance because I'm teaching at Joana Saahirah's online dance school in a little while. And I'm gonna wish you a great day, and thank you for your presence, for your questions, for your feedback. I love you guys, and I will see you very soon. Mwah.